sit nomen Domini benedictum, adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini, benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus.
It's a place to learn, to reflect, and be nourished. Rome's stone pillars speak to us. They tell us stories of human grandeur and of human tragedy. It's a city full of stories about empires, about kings, about leaders and followers, stories full of history, myth, and legend. But Rome's crumbling walls and towering figures also tell another story. It is the story of God and Christ, the story of martyrs, saints, and apostles, and it is the story of the popes. Rome is the capital of Roman Catholic Christianity and the home of the popes. There have been hundreds, starting with St. Peter. It is said that Jesus gave Peter his commission to be the servant of God and leader of the church. Some of Peter's successors enjoyed centuries of political power. Many popes were also kings. All were the bishops of Rome and the keepers of the faith.
Today, Rome is not only a golden city, it is a crowded city, jam-packed with traffic and people, noise and confusion. And right in the middle of it all, Vatican City, home to a man of peace. Pope John Paul II leads the world's Catholics from Vatican City. He is Polish, the first Slavic pope, only the second non-Italian pope. When he holds Mass in St. Peter's Square, tens of thousands come to see him. When he blesses them, it seems he touches their souls. He is a man of strength and conviction, a master of communication, and the conscience of his followers. He is also a man of controversy for some Catholics and non-Catholics. But above all, Pope John Paul II is a man of God. It is his calling.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Landess with Gary Shapiro. The keeper of the faith lives here in Vatican City. And from here, Pope John Paul II serves as the spiritual leader for 900 million Catholics. But he's more than pontiff of the Universal Church. He serves as a world leader, right up there with the presidents of Russia and the United States.
Over the next hour, you'll get to meet this unique man, learn of his likes and dislikes, hear about issues facing his church these days, and you'll get to see his home, Vatican City, in a way very few people ever get to. But first, we'd like to take you to Poland, the homeland of Pope John Paul II.
In the hills of southern Poland is the small town of Barnawice. It's a farming town, a place to work, raise a family, and learn about life.
But today this town is known for its most famous citizen, Karol Wojtyła. He was born here in 1920. His father was a Polish army officer. His mother was a school teacher. This is where he learned about life and about the church.
It was that church that formed the religious foundation for Karol. Now the world knows him as Pope John Paul II. A friend says when he was elected Pope in 1978, the whole town went crazy.
A jubilant celebration began, with horns blowing, bells ringing, dancing in the streets, and people hugging and kissing.
The Pope grew up in an apartment right across from the church. Today, it's a museum. The pictures on the wall tell his story. Pictures of Karol as a small child. Pictures with his father and with his friends. Like his brother Edmund, Karol had many. One was Jerzy Kluger, who happened to be Jewish. He remembers playing hockey against Karol, the Jews against the Catholics, of course.
It's a game of hockey when we played with notice, ordinary rudimental sticks, on a pond which was frozen, and the ice broke and we fallen in,
The pictures on the wall show us Karol as an outdoorsman. The skis in the corner tell us of his love for the mountains. Karol moved to Krakow for college and became an actor. The pictures on the wall show him in character. He was a good actor, but about that time something happened to Karol, to Poland, and to the world. The concentration camp Auschwitz symbolizes the horrors of World War II. It's just a few miles from Karol's hometown. To this day, Poles are stunned by the irony of the sign above the gate. It means work makes you free. It lulled thousands of people who thought they were being resettled. The Nazis had another plan. During this time, Karol Wojtyła joined the Polish resistance and was active in the underground theater. It painted the Nazis in their true light. It kept the actors sane.
No więc to jest prawda, tylko że to trzeba...
The young members met secretly in private homes. This theater lasted for many months and was our salvation.
More than 1 million people perished at Auschwitz, mostly Jews. Among them, Jerzy Kluger's mother and sister. He says he needed a friend at that time. Karol was, even though it was dangerous to associate with Jews.
I had so many sort of unpleasant and unlucky things happened to me. But that was one case when the faith was sort of good to me, to give me a friend, an exceptional person like that.
Now people visit Auschwitz to remember. They come to the Wall of Death, where prisoners were shot. They pay their respects. They light candles in the crematoriums, flames of peace, unlike the flames that once came from these ovens. As Pope, Karol returned to Auschwitz. He placed a candle in a cell where a priest had been starved to death, giving his life in place of a man with a family. The Pope raised his voice of warning in the name of Jews and in the name of humanity. He said, being Polish, he understood better than most why it must never happen again to anyone. Poland shaped Pope John Paul II. Its childhood wonders, its spirit, its piety, and its horrors molded the man who would become the keeper of the faith.
The Pope is most visible in Rome during Holy Week leading up to Easter. It starts with the Palm Sunday Mass at St. Peter's Square. Thousands pray with the Pontiff and hear his message of peace.
We will go in search of God.
It's an emotional time, especially during the Pope's blessing, which includes meeting sick and disabled people in the front row. When he touches them, they light up. When he speaks to them, they are in awe. And as he leaves them, they are spiritually refreshed. And so, it seems, is he. It's times like this Pope John Paul II is at his best.
Keeper of the Faith, a 9 News special presentation, is brought to you by Safeway, where nobody does it for less.
Vatican City is Carol Wojtyła's world now. It's the spiritual center of Catholicism and the pillar of the church. It's also an independent city and state, the smallest in the world. While the structures have been here for centuries, Vatican City-State emerged in 1929, part of a treaty with Italian dictator Benito Mussolini.
The reason for the political independence of the Pope is so that the Pope, as the spiritual leader of the largest religious group in the world, might be free from political pressure from being in any one country. So Vatican City-State seems to be the ideal solution.
Nel trasporto verso il luogo di esecuzione.
Carol's world stretches far beyond the walls of Vatican City, though. Radio Vatican spreads the Pope's message and news in 34 languages, touching all continents. When he's in public, Vatican Television and the Italian TV network RAI beam his image to the world. And while he doesn't especially like the mainstream media, he does know how to use it.
He's a media personality in that he is so natural, and what he does is so appealing from the point of view of the media that he is an excellent media personality and uses the media for what he said, the symbolism of bringing people closer together and closer to God.
He's the old actor, you know. He started on the stage and he's still got that actor's quality. And without an audience, he can't perform. But with an audience, he's the greatest.
He truly is a unique personality, a people's pope. When he holds Mass, he holds the hearts and souls of his followers in the palm of his hand.
And he's got something very special about eye contact. I'm convinced that when he passes through a crowd, every single person in that crowd thinks the Pope has looked right at him.
This guy has it all. You know, he's a brilliant theologian. He can teach. He knows how to run the shop. He has, when he was in Iowa a few years ago, some old gal out there, a Protestant, watching him, I heard her say, "Boy, you folks got a pope who really knows how to pope." I mean, he hits on all cylinders.
What you see is what you get. He is obviously a man of prayer, I'm convinced, continuing contact with God, and that's inspiring. He's a man of profound conviction and deep preparation, philosophical and theological. He's a very learned man. And he's an individual very sensitive to human rights.
That sensitivity was never more apparent than when the Pope returned to Poland. He stood shoulder to shoulder with Lech Walesa. His religious homilies were mixed with his political message. Mostly because of the Pope, the Polish people realized they had power and could challenge communism.
As one bishop here, Polish bishop, told me that during that trip, they overcame the barrier of fear. And once they did that, it was all over. So I think that it was ready to collapse. The communism was ready to go, but he pulled the trigger. He was the detonator of it all. And I think he deserves quite a role in history for that.
World leader, political force, head of state, and servant of God. The Pope is a very busy man, but he always makes time for prayer. And when he prays hard. You can see the passion in his face.
He has endured the sufferings that so many people have to endure, and yet through all that, he has been able to keep his gaze focused firmly on the purpose of life. And he's been able to console people, give them an example, and give them a sense of direction.
He feels a great weight on his shoulders. After all, he's not just praying for himself, but for his followers and for all mankind. Now that he is Pope, Carol believes his world touches everyone in the real world.
Here at the Vatican, Pope John Paul II lives and works. He prays and studies and guides his church. And only a handful of people are really close to him on a day-to-day basis. One of those people is the papal photographer, Arturo Mari. He's a man who knows the Pope probably as well as anyone does. And the two of them have been through quite a lot together.
Pregate, fratelli e sorelle, perché il mio e vostro sacrificio sia gradito a Dio, Padre Onnipotente.
He is always there to capture moments of joy, moments of pain. There to trace the footsteps in time of a man who has touched millions. Through the camera lens of Arturo Mari, the world of Pope John Paul II is opened up and laid bare for all to see. As the Holy Father's personal photographer, Arturo is perhaps closer to the Pope than any other person. When the Pope took the reins of the Catholic Church in 1978, Arturo was there. When an assassin's bullet threatened the Pope's life in 1981, Arturo was there. He was one of the few photographers to capture the horrible moment, to capture the shock and pain of a time out of control, when a Turkish gunman named Ali Ajka tried to kill the Pope in St. Peter's Square. Arturo's pictures recorded images of a world collectively holding its breath, praying that a bullet would not take the Holy Father from them. And when he took this photo of the Pope in a hospital bed to show the world that the Pope was alive, the Holy Father looked into the lens and said, "Arturo, you are here again." And today, Arturo is still there to let his images show the world the passion that this Pope has for the lives of others. It's something Arturo has seen in the Pope's face hundreds of times.
He is close to every person he approaches, the sick, the handicapped. At the moment when he blesses them, when he touches them, you notice his expression on his face, and you know that in that instant, he participates in their suffering.
His images don't lie. Etched in the lines of his face, you see someone invigorated by the touch of a child, someone whose face lights up when his eyes meet another's.
Carisma, se si può chiamare carisma.
The Holy Father has a charisma, if we can call it that, a charisma with youth, and young people communicate well with him. It is hope they see in him.
Arturo has worked as the papal photographer for 35 years, 5 popes in all. But his attachment to this one is clear. He's always dressed in his black suit and white shirt, and he is present during the Holy Father's most private moments. He is witness to a side of the Pope the public never sees. It was during one of those moments, late on a Christmas Eve, that Arturo saw the incredible compassion of Pope John Paul II. An ambulance brought a dying man unannounced to the papal apartment. The man's final wish? To pray with the Holy Father. When Arturo arrived, the image he captured touched his soul.
The young man thanked the Pope for granting him his last wish and said, "I do not know if tomorrow I will still be alive. We will meet again in heaven."
They were pictures taken through a viewfinder filled with tears. Arturo says the young man died the following day. Sickness has also recently touched the Pope. To many around the world, the 72-year-old pontiff looks frail after his bout with colon cancer last year. But to Arturo, he seems as strong as ever.
I cannot explain it. It is as if a higher force protects him and gives him the power to continue with even greater strength than before.
It is another Catholic holy day. And Arturo, as always, is there to photograph his Pope, there to capture the essence of the Holy Father on film. For Arturo, the Pope and the camera are his life.
I feel like doing my job with my heart, to say thank you to the Holy Father for the affection that he gives me. I work many long hours during the day. If this report did not exist, my work would be a burden. Instead, near a man of this kind, it becomes a very beautiful job.
On Thursday of Holy Week, the Pope conducts the blessing of the oils. The beauty of the ceremony is enhanced by the surroundings. St. Peter's Basilica is the biggest and the most famous Christian church. It's also Catholicism's most sacred point of pilgrimage. Tradition says this wondrous place sits over St. Peter's tomb. It is a sight to behold, especially when the Pope holds Mass from the high altar, something only he is allowed to do.
After World War I, Pope Pius XI decided to hire a gardener to take care of all the plants and flowers on the Vatican hillside. Since then, this has grown into the most beautiful place in Rome, 55 acres of peace and tranquility. It is among Pope John Paul II's favorite places on earth. Walking through the Vatican gardens, it's easy to see why.
Quello è vero, diciamo all'inizio del suo pontificato lui è venuto.
At the beginning of his pontificate, the Pope would walk in the gardens often in the afternoon. He particularly liked the wooded area. Perhaps it reminded him of his land, Poland.
Infatti questo qui è un lavoro che si fa se si ama la natura.
This is a job that you do if you love nature, if you love plants, and if you enjoy a green environment. It is like taking care of a child from birth, beginning from the seed, through germination to the adult plant. And the love grows gradually with the nurturing. You feel it in the soul, even if the fruits of your labors can only be seen in the future.
In Vatican City, there is art everywhere you look. The place is infused with the spirit of the Renaissance. That spirit created what is arguably the most wondrous art collection in the world, the Vatican Museum. It is actually 12 museums, 1,400 rooms, the largest art complex in the world.
Soltanto che non è soltanto, bisogna considerare.
The Vatican museums are a series of museums, it is true, but they are also a palace. Therefore, when we say Vatican Museum, we also say Vatican Palace.
The palace was built by popes centuries ago. They lived in these rooms and commissioned the great masters to decorate them. Vatican museums are more than just art on a wall. They are that wall, that floor, and that ceiling. Probably the most famous ceiling in the world is here, the Sistine Chapel ceiling, painted by Michelangelo starting in 1508. The creation of Adam and the other pictures on the ceiling are frescoes, an art form where the artist paints right into wet plaster. They've lasted for centuries, but many were soiled and dirty. That's why they started restoring the Sistine Chapel frescoes back in 1985. A Japanese television network paid for the work, and it sparked a lot of controversy. Some critics said it was a travesty of Michelangelo's intentions. The chief restorer disagrees.
Io penso che a noi.
I think that our works of art have been handed down from others who took care of them and have transmitted them to us. Our duty is to hand them down to future generations. Therefore, we cannot let them die between our hands. We must take care of them and pass them on.
The restoration work in the entire complex is ongoing. Restorers separate darkness from the artist's light by applying cleaning solvents with the precision of a diamond cutter. It's a magical process. This is truly a joyous place. You can feel the joy walking through the Raphael rooms and studying famous works like his Transformation. Artists back then often put themselves in their works. That's Raphael in the corner of his painting, The School of Athens. The museum includes the Galleria Maps, a three-dimensional record of the world painted in the 16th century. And the museums are now home to some of the world's most famous sculptures. This one, of the priest of Apollo and his sons, was created by the Rhodes sculptors in the 1st century A.D. Another 1st century work, the God of Apollo. Art critics have said this statue depicts the highest ideal of art. And the museum holds one of the most famous pieces of art ever, Michelangelo's Pieta. This is a plaster cast replica made from the original, which is behind glass at St. Peter's. The Vatican museums are a place of history, of exquisite beauty, and of unending surprises. Built by the popes, they are a timeless expression of human creativity at its highest level.
Art, at a somewhat lesser level, can be found at many souvenir shops ringing the Vatican. Tourists can buy a hologram of Jesus. The eyes open and close as you look at it from different angles. There are Pope pictures, Pope plates, Pope plastic sculptures. Now, many items are blessed by the Holy Father. They're taken in a box to St. Peter's Square during a Mass. When he blesses the crowd, of course, the souvenirs get blessed too. They are holy trinkets, selling anywhere from $5 to $500. And it is big business. Tens of thousands of people visit the Vatican each week. Many want to take a memory of it back home with them. For some, it's a way to be close to their Pope year-round. As simple as hanging a papal plate on the wall.
On Good Friday of Holy Week, the Pope goes to the Roman Colosseum for the Stations of the Cross ceremony. It is one of the most solemn and beautiful events of the year. Carrying the cross, he retraces the last hours of Christ's life. The event is held at the Colosseum to honor Christian martyrs who were supposedly killed here. The backdrop is spectacular. The Colosseum was built in about 79 AD and serves as a model for stadiums to this day. You can almost hear the Roman crowds and see the combat of the gladiators who fought each other. But on Good Friday, the Colosseum's past fades into the background. Candles and torches frame the modern-day event as the Pope relives Christianity's darkest time. It stirs the souls of those who relive it with him.
Among the many offices here at Vatican City is one for the Avvocato del Diavolo, the devil's advocate. It's where the expression came from. While it's his job to investigate prospective saints, his title fits the mindset of many Catholics these days. When it comes to issues facing the Church, issues that have been pillars of the Catholic religion, some Catholics say they should play devil's advocate.
It's a sign of the times, a beggar in the shadow of the Vatican. A homeless person sleeps in a doorway right next to St. Peter's Square. The Church tries to help, but problems like homelessness and poverty often stretch beyond its reach. And many blame the Church for contributing to the problems. The Pope's policies on artificial birth control and abortion, they say, results in overpopulation and despair. Yet many Catholics say the Pope's getting a bad rap.
Italy has the lowest birth rate in Europe right now, and perhaps in the world. This is a Catholic country. There's your answer for it. You know, people are going to do what they want.
And so it seems they do in Rome. Young lovers can be seen everywhere in springtime. Some Catholics say issues like birth control should be decided by individuals, not the Church.
It doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be humble and to, you know, if you can't live up to the ideal, well, to try, at any rate. When you screw up, that's what the sacrament of confession's all about.
Where the Church is free to change and to update, it can, should, and has. Where the Church is not free because of what Christ has revealed, it has to say, we're not free to change. This is what Christ has revealed. We must hand it on, preserve it, and defend it.
People are going to have problems with the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church is the one institution that remains, that stands for something, that takes a line, and you know what it is. You know what it is. And there's something to be said for that. It's, even if you find her your enemy, she's an enemy to be respected, and she's an enemy who has a pretty clear mission.
Pope John Paul II has made his mark as a stern and very conservative taskmaster.
ringraziare della nostra peculiare vocazione.
His stand is clear on issues like artificial birth control, abortion, homosexuality, and women in the priesthood. And partly because of his conservatism, the ranks of his flock are dwindling in parts of the world. It's a problem, and the Pope knows it.
He sees it as a challenge. It is a problem. You can look at it as a crisis. You can look at it as you know, a horrendous crisis. But things have been worse in the history of the Church, and I don't think it's something that bothers the Pope. He lays out the challenge there for the youth.
The Pope's defenders say he shouldn't be blamed for the world's problems. They say all he's doing is trying to clarify teachings that were muddled by past popes and by the Second Vatican Council.
This tended to cause a kind of a confusion for the old lady in the pew. And he was determined, when he became Pope, to make sure the old lady in the pew knew what the Church teaches. He has said, well, everybody won't accept our teaching, but at least I want them to know what it is.
It is an unending controversy and great problem for many Catholics. When it comes to things like artificial birth control, they love their faith, but not its teachings. They love being close to their Pope, but hate not being any closer to changing his mind.
While the ranks of the Catholic Church may be dwindling in some areas of the world, they're growing in others as people begin to search for values in their lives, particularly young people. And that's why so many tens of thousands of young people will be coming to Denver on World Youth Day. And when they arrive, they may be surprised by what they'll find. When we come back, the Vatican point of view on what the real purpose of World Youth Day is.
Holy Week at the Vatican wraps up with a big finish with the Easter Mass at St. Peter's Square. Pomp and circumstance mark this Christian High Holy Day. It is full of color, emotion, and devotion. More than 50,000 people come to pray with their Pope. And the Holy Week concludes with the Pope's Easter message to the world. In dozens of languages, he calls for peace, especially in the former Yugoslavia. Pleading for an end to the war, the Pope says the tragedy is everyone's concern. As the service ends and Holy Week concludes, Catholics are spiritually refreshed. So too, it seems, is the Pope.
Palm Sunday at the Vatican, perhaps a preview of what we'll see in Denver this summer. Young people reveling in their faith and at being in the presence of their Pope.
He's just a culmination of everything I've believed in, and holiness, and just exudes such peace and love. And it's just wonderful to see.
He seems to be rejuvenated by being around young people. So he really enjoys their presence, and I think that will add life to the church and make the young people begin to follow again.
And that may just be the crux of World Youth Day. Many young Catholics would like to see the event be a forum for discussing issues dividing the church. That's not likely to happen.
The kids, I think this is speaking to us as church and as laity, that the kids need to have a place where they can talk about these things. And it's unfortunate, I think, that we don't recognize their voice more often than we do.
Io credo che
I think that World Youth Day is not so much a time of discussion and confrontation of different positions or ideologies or viewpoints. Rather, above all and first of all, it is a time of encounter. We will meet to underline the unity. Gathered around the cross of the Lord, we listen to His word, and He will give us directions for our lives.
On Palm Sunday, the Pope invited the world to Denver. He said Christ awaits them there.
Young people of America and of the world, Christ awaits you in Denver. There, in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, we will relive the positive experiences of Rome, Buenos Aires, Santiago de Compostela, and Częstochowa.
When the Pope comes to Denver, we will get the chance to experience the excitement and emotion that comes with it. It is evident at his weekly audiences at the Vatican. He is greeted like a rock star. He knows how to get to a crowd. And his followers, especially the young ones, are touched by his presence. Some are moved to tears. Our trip to Vatican City was highlighted by the chance to meet this remarkable man. He looked well. He had a strong handshake. During our audience, Gary Shapiro and I presented him with a crystal sculpture of the Rocky Mountains, and we asked him about his trip to Denver.
We brought you something to remind you of your event that's coming up. The Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains. You looking forward to your visit?
We are looking forward to the visit and to the meeting. The meeting of the youth, America.
The Pope went on to tell us that he hopes that young people will be excited by the new evangelism of the Church. Then he thanked us and our community.
God bless you.
It's a pleasure.
That's also your activity. Very important.
And with that, our short audience with the Pope was over. But just the fact that he met with us signals how strongly he feels about World Youth Day. It should be quite a time.
Whether you're Catholic or not, whether you agree or disagree with Catholic teachings, you can't visit Vatican City without being impressed by this magnificent place. The history, the beauty, the passion of the people here. It's something we won't soon forget.
Nor will we forget our very short meeting with the Pope, a man who's had such an amazing impact on the world in such a relatively short period of time. When he prays, you can see that intensity in his face, that caring that he has for his followers. And when you look into the eyes of his followers, you can see the love they have for him.
We would like to close with a photo essay by photographers Dave Delozier and Mike Watson that captures some of the emotion of the people in the presence or in the heart of the Keeper of the Faith.
Arrivederci from Rome.
He means peace, you know? He brings peace to everyone, and that's the most important thing.
I wish to invite the young people of every country to the great festival of youth, which will take place in Denver.
I've seen him with young people on a number of occasions, and as I said, as his batteries are charged by prayer and by people, they're especially charged by young people. Their enthusiasm, their generosity. And he sees young people, I think, with any number of choices in life, and he doesn't want them to make a mistake. He wants to see that idealism, that enthusiasm, that generosity, that openness channeled in the right direction.
we will go in search of God.
Young people see an inspiring moral leader. So I think the Pope is saying to young people, you're the hope of the world. Don't let yourselves down and don't let the world down.